So what's going on with Town of Salem 2? Why is the meta so mixed? The answer is actually a lot simpler than you think. It really comes down to three elements: where the players are coming from, what they want to play, and will they stay if they don't get what they want. Now, where the players are coming from is a lot simpler than you think. It's also tied to number two, but let's start from where they're coming from. People just decide to move on from Town of Salem 1 into Town of Salem 2 because that on Sundays it works fast, but the rest of the week it is excruciatingly slow. If you're waiting 20 to 30 minutes, people are going to move on. And that's exactly what I've been seeing. A lot of people who are coming into the game right now is January 2026, and they're asking, how do you play the game? What is meta? There is no meta when the defined meta is out the window, because that nobody knows where the players are coming from and what they're trying to do. What you're trying to do also matters. And when you have a lot of players who come from Town of Salem 1, they're going to want to play all any because that's the mode that they know. Nobody wants to play the other modes. Now we're going to get into point 2, which is are people happy with playing the other modes? No, they're not. Because the other modes, you basically get 5 people who play really what they want to play, 3 people who are like okay with what's going on, and then you have 7 people who are pissed, who don't really want to play this mode. They'll play it, but they're not happy, so they just move to all any. And they bring the meta that they come from into all any, when all any is a very different meta than Blood and Relief. Custom works very differently than all any. And so does ranked. It all works very differently. If you ask veteran players, they'll tell you that certain metas change according to the times as well, which is very true, because you have times where you have more players because it's off season for students. Like, they don't have tests, they don't have anything going on, they're just going home, they work and they come off work and then they play and then they're not playing anymore, and so on and so forth. You have those types of players. And then you have the players who are actually underage, and their schedule, well, not their schedule, but the meta runs according to their schedule, meaning that if their schedule is heavy with tests, if they have SATs and whatnot, they're not going to be playing. But if it's completely empty, they're going to be playing non-stop, because nobody has more free time than kids. And the third type is adults who are after college, like myself, who play according to their own schedule, because I can't actually play all the time, even though it seems like I do, I really don't. And also according to what's going on in their lives in general. For example, there are days that I can't play, like actual days, like let's say Mondays I can't really play, Wednesdays I can't really play, etc., etc. Like, I'm just giving my own personal experience. And then I have other days I can fit in like 2 hours of gaming, and that includes, in those 2 hours, I need to figure out A, getting a game, B, editing everything, etc., etc. That's just me giving in a little bit of personal insight, but that's not relevant to the meta. The point is that the meta is made up of completely different people who gave up on their own modes. You have people who gave up on Town of Salem 1. You have players who gave up on ranked. You have players who gave up on custom. You have all those players, and where do they flock to? They flock to the one mode that will always be there, all any, because all any is the vanilla of Town of Salem. Nobody expects all any to die out. People eventually are going to give up on custom, because at custom they don't get what they want. If you don't get what you want, you may as well risk it and go for something that's going to be 50% of the time what you like, rather than custom, which is maybe 20% of the time what you want. First of all, you want your mode to even be in one of the 4 modes that are selected in the cards. And then you need to convince everybody to vote for that mode. It's extremely hard. If you don't get the mode that you want, then only maybe 20% of the time you're going to get what you want. And that's a maybe. So what is a meta made up of? It's made up of 2 different players. There are players that try to push for claims, the players who come from vote for role, who they say they make up whatever information they make up. Do not try to talk to these players. They will go off of whatever they make up. Like these players seriously make up stuff. Somebody won't post, they'll say, you didn't post all game, you're covered. Now it could be true, but it's not necessarily true. There are other roles that don't want to post all game. For example, there was this one game, I was Doomsayer. Somebody said, you've been passive, you're 100% covered. Now I was Doomsayer, don't get me wrong, I was evil, but being passive does not necessarily make you evil. Also, I wasn't passive that game. They were just saying I was passive. There are games I'm passive. I know that there are games I'm passive, and then people will claim that you're passive. All they need to say is say that you're passive, and that's enough. It doesn't matter if you are or aren't. Those are the players who you cannot talk to. You will never be able to convince them of anything. They will be certain that they're right because of whatever headcanon they made up, and that's the game. Which is fine. It's a way of playing the game. I'm not trashing it. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's correct to play that way, but those are the players who are coming into All Any right now. And that's only one part. That's the part that comes from Town of Salem 1 and the part that comes from Custom. Then you have actually new players who are new to the game, who have been watching either myself, London, Pipetron. They're all great. Seriously. If your thing is to watch Pipetron and you want to learn from Pipetron, go right ahead, do it, because Pipetron is a great player and there's a lot to learn from him. But that's not the point. The point is, do everybody a favor, and if you're going to watch somebody on YouTube, try to mimic how they think rather than mimic their exact one-for-one plays, because their exact one-for-one plays do not necessarily translate well into every game. And the third one is the timing, which I think I talked about. So what's the meta right now? The meta right now is a mixed bag of everything. It's people who are giving up on different modes. There are people who are giving up on custom, people who are giving up on Town of Salem 1, and just going into where the players are playing. Everybody knows that Town of Salem 2 is where it's at. How do we know this? Because if you go on YouTube and you type in Town of Salem 2 videos, players like Pipetron show up. Everybody shows up. Okay, and what do most of these players have in common? Most of them play All Any in Town of Salem 2. And that's where we're at. How do we fix the meta? You don't. You don't fix the meta. If you were able to fix the meta, then you would already be fixing the meta. But you can't fix a meta that you don't understand. And just because I understand what the problem is, doesn't mean I know how to fix it. We just have to wait and let the dust settle. That's all there is to say. Cheers.